Trading Nut, episode 173.
So, like, the biggest thing for me is I'm always looking at candlesticks. I trade candlesticks pretty religiously. Like I said, pretty simple. I might have a few EMAs on the chart, but in general, I'm looking at, the candlestick tells a lot of information. A lot of people, they see candlesticks and they're like, oh, that's just a bunch of stuff on a chart. But it's like, no. If I look at a candlestick and I see that it pulled back, to support, and then all of a sudden it just got whipped all the way back up, and I have a huge wick on the bottom of that candle, that's telling me that buyers just came in there and just scooped that thing up. So that's either, we got a reversal going on, or vice versa. If I'm trying to get short and I see there's a huge wick on the top, I'm like, hey, there's something going on. So I'm really focused on trying to figure out what the human aspect is of those candlesticks. Because really, you think people are trading, people are the reasons that the market goes up and down. I mean, there's obviously the algorithms, but at the end of the day, there's that human interaction. People are looking for kind of similar patterns. There's a reason that a bull flag breaks to the upside. When it breaks to the upside, it's because everyone's waiting and watching, and all of a sudden it breaks that level, and it's like, wow, why did it go up? Because everyone's sitting there waiting for that pattern. Those patterns that we see as day traders, those patterns just repeat over and over and over every day, different time frames. The larger time frames, the better the chance that a pattern plays out to the way you think it's going to play out. But that's really what it comes down to. And that's, people, I'm sure you get it too. People always ask me well, you're just gambling. And I'm like, no, I've never been to Vegas and sat at a table and been like, hey, I see a pattern here, because there is no pattern, every time the odds reset. But with trading, the longer that you trade, the more you see these patterns. And I'll talk about later, a pattern today that I saw it happening. I was like, well, this is going to, I knew from all the years of seeing this pattern, this is what's going to play out, because, these patterns, because every other trader is trading off these same patterns. There's a reason, support, resistance. There's a reason that these areas end up bouncing, it's because, when Bitcoin crashes down to, $40,000 and it's like, oh, it's that support, there's a reason that it bounces. It's not just magic. It's because everyone's sitting there waiting and watching. Okay, this is the time,
This podcast is not financial, trading, or investing advice of any kind. What's up, traders? Welcome to another installment of the Trading Nut podcast. I'm your host, Cam Hawkins, and today we've got Patrick Wieland in the house. Now, Patrick is a trader from the US who lives in Hawaii, living what you could probably call as the dream trader life. He trades early in the morning. You're going to find out how on earth he gets up at 3 a.m. in the morning to trade, and then goes off and does surfing and all sorts of stuff on the North Shore of Hawaii. I did actually ask him after the show if he knew any of the famous surfers out there and that, and apparently he does. He's surfing with Kelly Slater, the world famous Kelly Slater, on a regular basis, and probably a whole bunch of other guys on the professional surfing tour. So you're about to meet Patrick. And you're not going to hear anything about his surfing life, but you're going to hear all about his trading life and how he does it and how he got there. And then we jump into a video afterwards and you get to see how he trades gaps on the S&P 500. So worthwhile checking that video out afterwards, guys. Other things going on before we jump into the show. We've got the guest application form is now more visible on the Trading Nut site. So if you do want to apply as a guest, either as a guest being interviewed or coming on and doing a live stream, then please head over there, fill that in, and we'll see if we can get you on. Other things, we got the Trading Nut Funded Cup, current leader at 78% growth already. I can't believe it. They haven't closed all those trades out, but they're still doing very well on that 50k account. June's competition is coming up as well, so if you do want to register for that, head over there, tradingnut.com. You're going to find the Funded Cup links there, and you can register for the June competition coming up, and more details on that soon. And also the leaderboard is up there on the City Traders Imperium site. Other things, talking about City Traders Imperium, we've got a couple of the guys, Rodrigo, who's been on the show, and his cousin Diego coming on to do a live stream, a regular live stream on the channel, along with all the other guys doing the live streams. They're doing their bank level trading system, which gives you an average of 1 to 5R every time you place a trade. So, guys, it's worthwhile checking that one out. They're going to be up on New York session and a London session as well, pretty much every week. So, guys, you want to subscribe to that YouTube channel, hit that bell, and click on the all drop down thing on the notifications bell, and you're going to get notified when their live stream goes live. Other things going on here at Trading Up, we've got the Genius Trader Club. The price is about to jump on that significantly, so please, guys, if you're looking to get your mindset on point, go and check that out. There's links definitely under the video or in the podcast description, and it's over there under Mindset on the tradingnut.com site. And finally, before we get into the show, I've created a bot called the ZZ Fib. It's based on the zigzag indicator. I'm going to put a video up there on the Trading Nut channel soon, but for now, I've actually got it running to try and pass the City Traders Imperium funded trader challenge on a 10K account. So I'm going to have that up on the Trading Nut site under the Robot Builders Club link. So if you want to go and find that, see how it's performing, then just head over there, tradingnut.com, and you'll find out. I assure you. All right, folks, enough from me. Let's get on with this awesome interview with Patrick. Folks, if you missed out on joining the Trading Nut Funded Cup, don't worry. With over 3,000 traders registered, my sponsors, City Traders Imperium, have decided to run another. But this time, they've promised the prizes will be even bigger and better. Folks, if you want to register for this and show your skills as a trader, click on the link above or the link below the video or in the podcast description, then sign up for free before 15th of June 2022 and get 10% off any City Traders Imperium product just for entering the competition. Good luck, folks, and we'll see you in the cup. All right, folks, here we are on Trading Nut. We've got Patrick Wieland here in the house. Patrick's a stock options crypto, and he's pretty much traded everything in the past. So welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you.
Now, you're over there in Hawaii, but you obviously didn't start there. I want to find out how you got to the point where you are now in your trading journey, what got you into it, and how you progressed.
Whew, that's a long story for a lot of beers to be talked about. But basically, I got into the market. I lived in Miami. I grew up with this idea that you had to work every day. You had to go to work 9 to 5, work a hard job, and then you waited for the weekend, and then you cash your check, and you spent your money, and you did it all over on Monday. And living in Miami, I was exposed to people that had lots and lots of money, but I was like, they're never working. Why are they never working? No one's working. They're all just partying all day. And the more that I learned about it is, to really make money in this world, you can't work. Like, you can't work 9 to 5. Like, you have to either invest it, you got to have businesses, or, you've got to put your money to work. And that was like the big turning factor for me. When I was probably 25 years old, that's when I first started like trading. I'm 33 now. And I just basically learned how to retrain my brain to go from, money being a thing that I use to buy things to now money being a thing that I use to make more money with. And I think that's like the hardest thing for people to learn, is that money is a tool to make more money, not just a tool, or not a thing, not just fun coupons to go out and buy new shoes and all that fun stuff. So that was like the huge turning point for me, really.
And so,
like learning that money,
living in Miami and back in 25, so that was like 8 years ago. Yeah, I mean, were there still a lot of Instagram stuff going on there? Because it seems to be a lot of that in the Miami area in particular.
No, that's funny, because I feel like, when I first started doing the YouTube thing, there really wasn't, like, I started on YouTube in 2017, like beginning of 2017, and there really wasn't a lot of people that were putting out videos. Like, there were there was probably 5 or 6 like main guys that were doing it kind of consistently, but there really wasn't what there is today. Like, you go on YouTube now and there's, 5,000, 10,000 people on YouTube that are the next big guru or a famous person talking about stocks or how they're going to help you make millions of dollars. And now with social media, every day I see some new guy on social media like, buy my course to learn how to buy Bitcoin. Like, if you want to invest in Bitcoin, do it how I do it. And it's like, oh gosh, it's like this huge plague now of just influencers taking over. It's almost embarrassing sometimes.
So how did so after that revelation? I mean, how did you sort of get into it, and what made you decide to target trading as a avenue?
It's funny because I was on the wait list for Robinhood when it first came out. Like, this is like not like the new Robinhood, but like literally the first time Robinhood ever launched, I was on the wait list. I was using E-Trade. And E-Trade was like terrible. And then Robinhood came out and I was like, wow, this is free. This is amazing. I was paying $6 per trade on E-Trade when I first started. to buy a stock, to sell a stock, you had to pay $6 each time. Like, it was fucking nuts.
And what is it now? How much is it now?
Well, now it's free. I mean, it's
free.
Okay. Yeah. So Robinhood changed the game. So Robinhood came out, it made it free trading, and then later on, all the other brokerages did the free trading. But yeah, I just started buying stocks. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I would just buy any stock that I thought could possibly go up, and I learned pretty quickly that's not how you trade. Just, I'm going to buy this stock today because it's up 2%. Like, doesn't mean it's going to go up 5%.
And were you working at the same time, or was this like...
Yeah, so I've always, that was kind of the good thing for me, is like I've always been big into filming. So I was a professional filmer before I started trading, because I just had so much free time, and I finally was like, I want to do something with all this extra money. Not that I had like tons of money, but I had extra money that I wanted to do something with, and I learned about investing. And yeah, I mean, I remember when I think I bought Amazon when it was like $100, $120, like back in the day, and everyone was like, Amazon's overvalued. Nvidia's overvalued. Like, all these stocks that nowadays everyone's like, they're overvalued. I'm like, well, you should have seen them in 2016. They were really good.
Yeah, Bitcoin's overvalued. It was $125. Yeah.
Come on. I had a good friend of mine. He actually, I remember in 2016, he was like, you should look into Bitcoin. That's kind of like when I first started getting into crypto too. And I think the first time I bought Bitcoin, it was like $600, $700 at that time. And I thought I was overpaying. Like, when it went to 10,000, I'm like, it can't go any higher than this. Like, that's crazy. And yeah, it's been wild because, obviously we look back and we see the moves in the market. We see the moves in different things, and we're like, wow, like that really went up a lot. So I wish I would have held on to that.
Yeah. So you jumped in there. You didn't know what you're doing. You were chucking things on the stock market. When did you start getting serious about it, and how did that transition happen?
I started getting serious about it kind of like I started the YouTube channel because I was like, I wanted to make a YouTube, not because I was like, I think I'm going to get famous. Like, when I first started, like my videos would get, 50 views, and then it just kind of snowballed and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's kind of like when I really got serious about it, because number one, like the YouTube, you have all the people commenting and everyone's like, you're an idiot. So you want to get better, obviously. Like, so it forces you to like want to trade better, because now it's not just you trading. It's like you have all these people, all these critics, and everyone's a critic on the internet. And the best part is like, we make a trade, we put a video on YouTube, and I was like, why would you do that? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's easy to say that now in hindsight. The market obviously went the opposite of the way I thought it was going to go. But in the moment, like when I bought, like I thought it was going to go down. Like 6 hours later, yeah, I'm an idiot. I know that, like. So yeah, that was like kind of the real like fire under my I guess. Yeah, under my ass to get going there. And
so I mean, how did you sort of get yourself educated in trading as a whole?
I wish there was like a simple way to put it, but I think it honestly was just like trial and error. I traded the like just straight up stocks. I traded 3 times ETFs. I traded futures. I traded options. I traded crypto. I mean, I'm still trading crypto every day. I'm normally trading crypto like whenever there's a good move in crypto, I'll trade it. But that was, it was really just a learning process. And it was funny because I learned all these different methods, and I learned all these different indicators, and like, you need this indicator, you need the RSI, you need this, and you need all these things, on your charts. And now it's funny because I'm probably using like the bare minimum. Like, I've removed so many indicators. I've removed so many different tools that people say you need this. Like, I don't look at RSI. I don't look at anything like pretty much all I look at is pure price action. I think everything else is bullshit. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, it's just, you have to like go through it, and you got to find what works for you, and like,
And did you ever invest in courses or anything like that to get this education?
No courses. I don't know if I should have or not, but the cool thing is, I mean, YouTube, like there's a billion videos on YouTube. And at the end of the day, like every single video pretty much all, goes back to like one simple idea. Like, you buy low, you sell high, if you're long, or vice versa if you're short. But really, like, it's always the same idea. Like, the market, I think I tell people, like, the market moves in waves. I mean, it's Forex, anything, things obviously go straight up sometimes. But like, do you really want to be buying all the way at the top, or do you want to be buying when the tide is changing, when the wave is forming, like getting ready for that next impulse move? And And that's like the biggest thing to understand as a trader is like when you're looking at this insane move, you're like, oh, it's going higher and higher. It's like, do I really want to buy right there? Probably not. So that was like, just learning that. I think, like I said, like all the indicators, all the things that you're supposed to learn with trading, at the end of the day, there's that simple idea. Like it's just that understanding that stocks, Forex, everything, it just moves in waves.
And so how did your account growth go? I mean, were there blowing accounts along the way, or just was it?
Yeah. So luckily for me, I kind of was. I wouldn't say I had like any like major blow up, but what I would do is there was a couple brokers, like offshore brokers, that would allow you to trade like small accounts to trade stocks. Because in America, you have to have a $25,000 or more to get around PDT. But there were offshore brokers that would allow you to trade with only $1,000. So you could put $1,000 into one of these accounts, you could blow it up, and it wasn't the end of the day. Where like if you put $25,000 into account, you blew that up, it might kind of really hurt. And it was just trial and error. And I had months where maybe I gained 300, 400, 500, 600%. I think I had my best month ever was like $1,000, like turning it into like a $10,000 into like 1 month. So you get those like really good months, and then obviously like you get the blow up months where you might lose $2,000 or $3,000, and just kind of the ups and downs.
And was it very much like sort of an investing style at that point, or were you, I'm going to get out at this point if it doesn't go in my direction, or I've got a stop loss and a take profit? How did that look?
Yeah, that was I think one thing people have to like, number one, like if you're gonna trade, like you have to trade. Like there's no hoping and praying. You don't buy a stock and then become an investor in that stock. Like you get into it. If it doesn't work out, the trade doesn't work, you get out. And that's one thing that I think, the human emotion people have problems with is if you're going to buy a stock, you got to have a plan. Like I get into a trade. I'm like, all right, look, I'm going to buy this for $1. And if it goes below 80 cents, I'm getting out. I don't care what happens. I don't care. That's just, it's dead. That's what it is. And that's one thing you got to force yourself to do, because that it's just like, you have to accept the losers as much as you get the winners.
And so in terms of what you're trading now, are you primarily trading, what is it? What are the instruments that you would go through?
So mostly I'm trading, so we call it, the SPY, so like the S&P 500, the overall indices basically. And I'm trading options on that because it basically gives me leverage, because I can buy, like a 50-cent option that might go, like today, for example, there was an option contract I'm looking at right now. It went from $1 up to $4. So it cost me $100 to buy the option. If I sell it at $4, it's $400. It's $300 in profit. So basically, if it's $1 option, it's $100 to buy it, and then if it goes up. So it really allows you, like, you don't need tons and tons of money. In this account, I think I have like 2.7 like equity in that account, and I can trade, some serious money options, and not really risk a ton either. Because like if I buy an option for $1 and it goes down to 80 cents, well, I just lost $20 from that one trade, instead of me like having to pay $80,000 for this to buy this amount of stocks, and then it goes down 20%, and I just lost 20,000. So it kind of really like allows you to kind of manage your risk a lot more. And so is that sort of why you've moved to options? Is it like from, I'm guessing, like another leveraged kind of asset? Yeah.
Well, not asset, but a derivative. Are you? What are the sort of intricacies in here that people might not be seeing that they should be aware of around the options versus other instruments?
Yeah. So if you're in the U.S., I think if you're in the U.S., you have to deal with PDT, the $25,000 requirement to day trade. If you're not in the U.S., if you're trading other options, you can do stuff. But for people in the U.S., it allows you to basically, you can trade with a cash account. So every day I start out, I have $2,700 in my account, and then I basically trade all that money for the day. And then at the end of the day, basically, like if let's say I bought, 27 contracts and each of them costs $100. And then by the end of the day, I can only trade what I have in my account. Like there's no margin, but it's giving me leverage basically because I'm able to buy those contracts for $2 and getting these insane moves out of the contracts and vice versa. So it allows people that don't have a ton of money to trade options, and it allows you to get in, get out, and trade every day. And then tomorrow, my account's basically reset, and I can trade up to 2.7 thousand, per day, basically grow that account and move it along.
Okay, so every day, I don't know if it does actually. So
every day I start out with basically the same amount of, let's say I make, more money, every day I start out with just whatever my account balance is, that's what my account balance is for the day.
Right.
And then once I spend all that cash for the day, I can't make any more trades because I've basically spent my cash for the day.
Yep.
But then tomorrow I get to do it all over again.
Yeah. So when you say you spent it all, you've got options in the market that you're waiting to either cash out of, or they obviously won't expire, but you're going to go, right, I've got my options all are in there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, or whenever you decide to, you cash out of them, and your balance gradually gets back to hopefully a positive balance. And you don't take the profit out of that and start again?
No, so you think about it like this. So like if, let's say I buy all my options in the morning and then I close them out because the market rallies and I've made my profit for the day. And then I'm done because I can't use any more money because I've already bought I bought $2,700 worth of options that morning. And then that basically, you have like one day where I don't get any more money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're not on margin because you're not like able to just keep trading and trading and trading and trading.
Right.
It basically only allows you to trade so much per day, which I've kind of, personally for me, I like that as well because let's say I might have a weird day where I'm in and out and I'm kind of forcing trades and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I got no more money. I can't do, it kind of forces me to not overtrade.
Yeah.
Because I got to be smart too, because I'm like, hey, I don't want to use up all my money on the first move of the day. I'm going to kind of slowly see what happens in the market. I'm going to wait and be more patient. And it's nice because I think it also I think with trading, you have to kind of figure out what works for you, like what your emotion is, what your style is. And then you have to kind of figure out, what's the best way to go about it. And right now, for me, trading the overall market, trading the options is kind of just working really good. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing it.
I mean, this did occur to me just the other day. I was like, hang on a sec. If there's no restriction, so I'm usually in the Forex markets, and if there's no restriction on the time that you can actually trade, which they're open pretty much 24/7, and there's no stopping you from trading, which is just an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
So this is, in theory, a way to stop you and limit. It's the rules. It's almost like, as I say, you're working for a company and the boss says, here's what you can do. This is your job. Versus with the Forex market in particular, which is 24/7, there are no. It's like, you got no rules, mate. Go and do whatever you want. It's like, I'm just going to go on a holiday every day. I'm not even going to be here. Yeah. So that sounds quite interesting. Now, if you had to sort of break your trading style down, I mean, how did you break it down now from a more of a technical analysis point of view? If you're going to analyze a chart, how does that look?
So, the biggest thing for me is I'm always looking at candlesticks. I trade candlesticks pretty religiously. Like I said, pretty simple. I might have a few EMAs on the chart, but in general, I'm looking at, the candlestick tells a lot of information. A lot of people, they see candlesticks and they're like, oh, that's just a bunch of stuff on a chart. But it's like, no, if I look at a candlestick and I see that it pulled back, to support, and then all of a sudden it just got whipped all the way back up and I have a huge wick on the bottom of that candle, that's telling me that buyers just came in there and just scooped that thing up. So that's either, we got a reversal going on or vice versa. If I'm trying to get short and I see there's a huge wick on the top, I'm like, hey, there's something going on. So I'm really focused on trying to figure out what the human aspect is of those candlesticks. Because really, you think people are trading, people are the reasons that the market goes up and down. I mean, there's obviously the algorithms, but at the end of the day, there's that human interaction. People are looking for kind of similar patterns. There's a reason that a bull flag breaks to the upside. When it breaks to the upside, it's because everyone's waiting and watching, and all of a sudden it breaks that level, and it's like, wow, why did it go up? Because everyone's sitting there waiting for that pattern. Those patterns that we see as day traders, those patterns just repeat over and over and over every day. Different time frames, the larger time frames, the better the chance that a pattern plays out to the way you think it's going to play out. But that's really what it comes down to. And that's, people, I'm sure you get it too. People always ask me well, you're just gambling. And I'm like, no, I've never been to Vegas and sat at a table and been like, hey, I see a pattern here, because there is no pattern. Every time the odds reset. But with trading, the longer that you trade, the more you see these patterns. And I'll talk about later, a pattern today that I saw it happening. I was like, well, this is going to, I knew from all the years of seeing this pattern, this is what's going to play out, because these patterns, because every other trader is trading off these same patterns. There's a reason, support, resistance. There's a reason that these areas end up bouncing. It's because, when Bitcoin crashes down to, $40,000 and it's like, oh, it's at support, there's a reason that it bounces. It's not just magic. It's because everyone's sitting there waiting and watching. Like, okay, this is the time,
How often are you like sort of putting yourself in other traders' mindsets and going, what are they thinking? What are they thinking?
Oh, yeah. No, I love that. That's like, you got to think, especially if you're short, if you're a bull, you're a bear. They say that bulls and bears make money. It's the pigs that get slaughtered. But, if I'm looking at a trade, I'm like, hey, I guarantee that if this breaks to the downside, like let's say this stock breaks through this support, that everyone's got their stop losses right there. All the day traders, they all bought because they thought this thing was going to break to the upside. But I guarantee if this thing breaks through that support, it's going to just wash right through because everyone's going to be racing to get out of the trade. And that's one thing that I've learned too, is like, you got to be on the opposite of that. Like, you don't want to be the guy who's reacting to the market moving. You need to be the guy who's like ahead of that move, in the sense of like, hey, this thing's going to break the downside. I don't want to put my stop loss right below that break because I know that it's going to get ran. I know that everyone's sitting there with their stop loss. Everyone's waiting, and they're like, okay, if Bitcoin breaks below 40,000, I'm getting out, And guess what? Yeah, there's a reason that it hits 40,000, it breaks, then it drops 2,000, but then rallies right back up. There's a they're playing into that emotion, and there's a reason that most traders lose money because they're doing exactly what they're not supposed to be doing.
And how do you sort of, or how did you transition from stock option trading to crypto, or was it the other way around? Because it's a completely different kind of asset, right?
Yeah, so it's funny, when I first started buying Bitcoin, this was 2016, and then going into 2017 when Bitcoin like had that insane rally. And I mean, at that point, I had Coinbase. I didn't really know how to trade. I think it like there was ways to trade it, but it was not like it was today. I mean, there was Coinbase Pro, but everything was like very like people were just trying to figure it out, And when I first started buying Bitcoin, it was just like you bought it, you held it, it went up, you sold it, you bought it again, it went up. And I remember like every day I set my alarm on my phone at night. Like I'd wake up every 2 hours at nighttime to check the price of Bitcoin, because it was going from like, it went from like 3,000 to like 7 to like 10 to like 20, within a month. And it was just madness. And I remember it got to 20 and I was like, I got to get out. Like this is too much, too quick. And I ended up selling like most of the Bitcoin in 2017, like above 17,000. And then it just, washed after that and crashed down. And I was like, oh, that was from me being a trader though. Like if I was just a straight up investor and I believe that Bitcoin's going to go higher and higher forever, I would have been stuck with a bag. But since I was a trader, I was like, man, like this thing is too overextended, right? Like it's got to pull back here.
What were the sort of like, I mean, other than that, I mean, was there anything else at that point? Because it was like, there wasn't a lot of TA to go on, right? So was there anything else that you were sort of seeing there that you're like, oh, or was it just like, it's like, I can't deal with it anymore. Let's just get out because this is kind of come down.
So trading view was around, and you could pull up the Bitcoin charts, but they were pretty like, everything was like still kind of like figuring it out. Like everything's gotten way better, since 2017, obviously. That's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And especially in Bitcoins, there's so many different altcoins, and now you got all different exchanges. Everyone's trading crypto, and it's different now. Like back in the day, like you would see like Bitcoin, like in the middle of the night when China was awake, you would just see Bitcoin just going higher. And you would basically like play into that, like I remember one night Bitcoin Cash went up like 300% in one night. And I was literally sitting there and this is how I was. The best part was I wasn't even trading it. I was like exchanging it. Like I had a bunch of Litecoin, and then I had to like swap the Litecoin for Bitcoin Cash. Like this was like so rude. Like it wasn't like trading. Like I was basically like, oh shit, I'm going to trade my Litecoin and I had to send it to this like swap, and then I had to swap it on this app. I think it was Exodus Wallet. You had to swap it on there. And then it was like, oh, then Bitcoin Cash is going up. I'm like, oh, I need to swap it back now, like yeah. It was wild. It was like really crazy back then. And I remember being like 3 o'clock in the morning, like yelling and screaming. My girlfriend's like, what? I'm like, I'm up 500%. It's crazy. Like it was just wild. So with crypto now, are you like sort of just trading it like a typical sort of,
if you're going to buy stocks or something, you're going to buy it and then are you going to put a stop in and a take profit, or how do you manage the trade?
So for me with trading crypto, like, so I've been trading Ethereum pretty much like pretty regularly the last like few weeks. Because for me, I'm looking at candlesticks. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm normally trading on the 15-minute chart. And that doesn't mean that I'm, in and out every 15 minutes or I'm in out, but I like to look at the 15-minute charts, normally like my entry chart. I look at the 15-minute chart, and then bigger picture, I might look at the hourly chart or the daily chart to figure out kind of like which way I think the market's going to go. Like last night, I had a short on Ethereum, and then I ended up getting stopped out, but I ended up getting stopped out for a profit. And then I went long because I saw that it was like basically making a higher low, went long, and then it rallied like another like $50. So, the nice thing about the crypto is the leverage again. Like the platform I'm using, they give you 100 times leverage. So, it's pretty wild. Like I've seen some insane stuff with crypto moving around. But normally, yeah, we're focused pretty hard on. It's kind of almost. It's funny because I'm using the same exact indicators that I use for like the indices for the S&P 500 and all that. I'm using that same indicators for Bitcoin.
And it works the same, yeah.
Yeah, and it works. Yeah, I mean, it works. I feel like it works pretty darn good.
And so what indicators are you using?
So I'm using they're basically EMA clouds. And there's I have like a 9 EMA, a 13 EMA, a 50, a 72, a 180, and then a 200. And it's basically creating these clouds on the chart, really simple and clean. And it's nice because the cloud is also changing from green to red. Like once the market's kind of like downtrending, the cloud, you can see like visually, you can see that it's in like a downtrend. So the cloud changes to red. So then I'm like, I kind of can focus. I'm more focused, when I see the clouds change from either green to red, I'm more focused either to the long side or to the, short side based just what if the cloud's red or green.
And is the cloud, just trying to get my head around it, is it perhaps just like the fact that it's crossed over? Is that how it works?
So,
or is it
so the different EMAs the different EMAs are either crossing or like if the price action gets if it gets too overextended, the cloud will also kind of grow, will widen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when the price action kind of gets back to like normal, it'll get tighter, and you'll see it get really tight, the cloud, before like a big move, maybe, or a trend change. So it's kind of interesting, to look at. And I'm obviously I feel like I'm a visual person, so it's nice to have very clean, simple, and easy to see indicators.
And so on a typical week, how many trades would you be placing?
So today, if I look right now, how many did I make? Total trades would be 25 today.
And is that across everything?
That's across. Well, I did 2 trades on Ethereum, so 27. But I might be in and out a couple. I might trade the same options contract maybe 2 or 3 times if I see that there's opportunity. But in general, like I'm kind of focused on maybe let's say if the SPY, if the indices at a certain level, if it's at 458, like the SPY, I might be focused on those options that are right around wherever the price action is at that point. So every day is kind of changing based on where the price action is.
And what's your typical risk to reward ratio on those trades?
I'm more for options. I'm more focused on percentage because their options are kind of moving differently. Like I'm not really risking like $1%, but I like to risk 10 to 20% is like my 20%. Like I know I got to get out. Like if I'm down 20% on the option, I'm like, okay, I've messed up. Something's wrong here. And then my goal really would be to hit 100% gain on each of those options, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
so it's
like this one today, it ran up 130%, in an hour. If that, so 100% gain on an option really isn't hard. I mean, if you're buying it for $1 and they go to $2, that's, 100% gain.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're taking a 20% loss and 100% gain, I'm sure that's 1 to 5, isn't it?
It's about 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Okay. On average. Okay. And what about for a crypto trade?
So the crypto is kind of tricky too, because you're trading with such leverage. So I don't need massive moves really, but again, it's really kind of hard to say, but I would say kind of similar. I try to like 20% looking at it. And I'm normally entering at an area either of support or maybe like a resistance area. And then I can basically, I'll look at the chart and be like, hey, look, like this last candle, it bounced off of this level. Like that's going to be my stop. So sometimes I feel like with crypto, I kind of am moving my stop, not so much more like on like a risk ratio, but more so like every trade I'm like looking at like, hey, like if the last support area that this thing bounced at is, it's $500 down, like that's too big of a risk for me. So I need to be entering at an area that I think like I can put my stop right below that area of reversal. And like, that's where I'm going to risk it,
And you're just going to manage that trade in terms of into going into profit. You're not going to go like, I'm just going to take a 2-to-1 or a...
Oh, yeah, no. And then, also I'll move my stop as well. Like if I'm in a trade and I see that it's going higher and higher, I'll move it to break even. And then once, let's say, now it's moved up even higher, I might move it to like, now I'm up 25% on the trade. Because the worst thing, it happens to everybody. It happened to me today. When you have a green trade and then it turns red on you. And you're like, why? Why did I let that happen? It really should never happen. I mean, if you're up, $200 on a trade, there should be no reason that you end up in the red on that trade. You know, it's just, something went wrong, your emotion or you did something wrong.
Yeah. And so out of these 27 option or 25 option trades to Ethereum, what are your average win rates on a weekly basis or a monthly basis?
I would say on my win ratio, it's probably like 70%, if that makes sense. Because again, it's like I might be taking a lot of, like today I took 3 losses, but like, for example, like my biggest winner today on the options, I made $236. And then my losers are $21 and $45. So it's like, I took 3 losers, but my one winning trade of the day was $236, but my 3 losers were $21. So it's like, I try to keep I'm okay with like people think that you need to be like 90, 80% to be a profitable trader, but really you need to you could be, if you're 45, 40%, correct, but your winners are, 6 times larger than your losers. That's all that matters. So the whole like win ratio is kind of funny because people like, I could easily get into every single trade and take $10 in profit and be like, look, I'm 90% right all the time. But it's like, that's just not, I've learned that trying to get in and out like every single minute, trying to trade the minute candles, like, sure, you can do it, but it's just too much stress and it ends up being too much in the end, I think.
Now, what does your typical trading day look like?
Typical trading day for me, since I'm in Hawaii, I would like to get up earlier, obviously, but I have to get up. I get up at 3:20. The market opens at 3:30. So I'm normally like, I don't even have clothes on yet. I just go and sit down on the computer. I look at the charts. I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. I'll kind of have an idea because I'll figure out like if the market gapped up, did we get a sell-off overnight? Kind of get an idea of what the game plan is going to be just by looking. And then I normally don't try to trade like right at the open because like today, for example, like, the market like tanked it open and then it kind of bounced and then it rallied at the end of the day. And like, trying to trade the chop, a lot of times you end up getting chopped up. You end up, maybe you made some little profits on the choppy sections, but just sitting back and waiting for like, that big move to actually happen when the market figures out which way it's going to go. Like that's the most profitable, opportunities. And, I think a lot of people, the biggest problem for them is over trading, trying to, like, if you're in front of the computer, like, oh, I got to be in a trade. But it's like, no, you just got to wait for the right opportunity because you can try to place 10 trades in a choppy market and just get chopped up. You might make a little bit of profit. You might get out for small losses. But by the end of it, it's like, wow, those 10 small losses added up to $300 and, a loss where I could have just sat back and waited for something good to show up, a good setup, and then I could have walked away with $200 in profit, So it's like, I think it's, everyone is so eager to like be in a trade, but really I've talked to the best traders in the world and some of the best traders in the world place the least amount of trades. I mean, I know guys, like I know this one guy, he on average makes 10 trades a year, but he's making millions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, cause when he sees the setup, he sits there and he's on a computer every day and he's looking at the charts every day. And when he sees a setup, he goes all in and he's in like those 10 trades he makes a year. He's very profitable on because he waits and he's like, okay, this is the time, and boom, he's in. So that's like, that's the argument for people.
Yeah, it is indeed. Now, it bemuses me around the sort of 3:30 start or whatever it is. So how on earth do you get, what time do you have to go to bed then?
I mean, I feel like I'm pretty, I'm pretty out there. But I go to bed normally like 9, 10. So I'm getting like 6 hours. Yeah, not bad.
It's not bad. And so, I mean, do you ever struggle getting to sleep in terms of, or have a bad sleep before you have to get up?
No, I mean, so like the nice thing about Hawaii is like it's so active here. Like I work out 5 days a week. Like, so for example, like this morning, the market closed. I went for a run, came back, I'm kind of like always like be really active trying, because obviously that's one thing I learned too with like trading. The trading can become very it's like a very taxing, like on your mental, on your physical, like if you're not making money, like trading's the one job in the world where you can show up every single day for work and not make any money. Like you can spend your whole entire life working as a trader and never make any money. And what other job in the world is like that? Like what other job can you spend your whole life doing it and never make any money?
I mean, you could even be unemployed and still make money within the government.
Yeah, exactly. Like being a trader is probably one of the dumbest things you could ever do, because like it's like, it is so hard. The emotional, the mental. I mean, it's just hard. Like trading is really, really hard.
So what do you do around consuming food or drink at 3 o'clock in the morning?
I normally don't. Yeah, I won't eat or drink anything when I first wake up, and then I'll have like a coffee maybe around like noon. Like noon, like Eastern time, so that'll be like 6 a.m.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm kind of a crazy person. Like I don't know. I work out a lot and kind of try to eat healthy and be healthy, because like that's one thing like with trading. Like when I was in Miami, I kind of went through like I got videos on my YouTube about it, but like I went through like a kind of like a darker point in my life. I was kind of like, I feel like, depressed and stuff, and it really affected my trading. It really did. And because it's all like, trading is so like, people think that it's all like technical analysis, but I mean, at the end of the day, anyone can look at a chart and be like, okay, yeah, that's probably a good area to buy. But like, are you able to like, not overtrade? Are you able to cut off your losers? Are you able to handle the losers? And that all I think really comes from being like healthy in life and, having something outside of trading. Like, I think that's one thing too for me is like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't have to trade every day. I might wake up in the morning, like, I'm not feeling it. I want to go on the jet ski. I want to go surf, and I'm not going to trade today. And that honestly like helped me as a trader so much, because now like when I get on the computer, like I don't feel that like that desire or that like need where I have to make a trade. When I first started trading, like I was like on the computer at 9:30, like, okay, here we go. It's happening. And I'd be like, okay, you'll go buy. And I would just go nuts. I had no idea what I was doing, but I thought if the market was open that I had to be trading. And that's exact opposite. Like that is not the way to make money trading.
It's almost like you got to get past that barrier to get to the point. And it's a mental thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm trading. And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to trade now. But so on a day that you might go, oh, I'm not feeling it, and you've woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning. What do? Do you go back to bed, or do you?
Oh, it's painful.
You ruin the whole. Like now, I've got to fill in 4 hours until the daylight comes. What happens then?
The worst thing is waking up at 3 in the morning and losing money. Like, like, oh, I woke up at 3 in the morning just to sit here for 6 hours just to lose money. Like, I love my job. Like my life is so fun. I really love this. Like that. Yeah, that's painful. But normally I'll just go back to bed. Like if I wake up and I see the market's just like, it's not really doing anything. Like it's kind of just weird and I'm not feeling it. Yeah, I'll just go back to bed. Or sometimes I'll just sit here and stare at it as well. Kind of interesting. I don't know. I'm a big just like believer and just, being exposed to it. Like just looking at the charts and like seeing stuff moving and being like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, like I see why that, like getting these ideas. Like today, like I look at the market, I'm like, wow, there was a double bottom there. Like, yeah, that was easy, like to identify, like anyone could have seen that coming,
And what does your setup look like? Have you got multiple screens, and how does that
work? The more screens you have, the more profitable you are. You got to have at least 20 screens. So I have 2 monitors that I've flipped up vertical, which is like a secret if anyone wants to know out there. If you can buy, your desktop like monitors, like your LCDs, and then you just flip them vertical. So they're like portrait mode.
Yeah.
And it's so much better because I can put charts all on there instead of like having my monitors like this, like around me and having to like turn my head and be like, what's that over there? What's over there?
Yeah.
If it's all vertical, like it's all right here. Like I don't have to turn my head and I can see everything.
Yeah. That is a great little trick. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it looks way cooler too. Because like people come in like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, I mean, they're just monitors, but they're just flipped up.
So you've just got two, yeah? Or did you say, or you got?
I've got two, but then I've got my Mac that I edit on. That I'll kind of sometimes I'll pull a chart on there or something. But I would say like I have like on an average day I'll have like 10 charts pulled up, and those 10 charts can literally be for maybe one indice, like because I'm looking at different time frames and trying to line everything up and. I might be looking at maybe like if I'm looking at like the S&P, I might also keep an eye on like the NASDAQ just to see like if the S&P is going up, what's the NASDAQ doing? Is the NASDAQ also following it? Is it kind of correlating? Or some days you'll see the NASDAQ starting to crash. You're like, maybe I want to fall. Maybe I want to get out of this trade in the S&P because something's going on. The NASDAQ might be moving a little earlier than the S&P does. So kind of always keeping an eye on everything.
And how do you so like if you're looking over so many time frames, I mean, how do you manage to get all of those on those two screens and check them out? Are they quite small or what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I feel they're 32-inch screens, so they're pretty big. I mean, you got a lot of room to work with. And on one screen I have like 6 charts pulled up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can see.
I'll have like my order, my book and stuff, and
what platform's that through?
So I'm trading through Interactive Brokers right now.
Hey folks, ever wonder what broker I use? Well, I use HankoTrade. It was a no-brainer because I was looking for a broker with good trading conditions and one that wouldn't restrict my leverage. Now, by joining HankoTrade, I've also cut down my trading costs significantly with their super low commission of just $1 per 100K. You can learn more at hankotrade.com or just click the link I've put in the description. Okay, so that's all right. So I'm just trying to picture it in my head. Like, so you're using their charts. You're not using TradingView or anything like that.
So I am using TradingView. The one monitor will be all of Interactive Brokers stuff, and then on the right hand side will be like TradingView charts. And I'll normally have I'll have different tabs for like the TradingView. I might go through in like different tabs, but I'll normally have like 3 charts that are pulled up like right in view to keep an eye on.
And what's your, I mean, you mentioned timeframes before, but what's your sort of driving time frame in terms of this is the one that I'm going to get in on my 15 minutes because I feel that this one's going to push the move?
Yeah, so like I said before, like I've traded 1 minute, I traded 30 second, I traded 5 minute, and obviously like the bigger the time frame, the better the read's going to be because, you get so many fake outs on the 1 minute chart. But if you're trading off a 15-minute chart and I'm basing my overall thesis on like why I'm entering and exiting based on the 15-minute chart, that's really giving me a lot better idea. Like I'm not going to get out of a trade just because it, there's a little like, oh, it just dropped a little bit. I'm like, that's, I can see on the 15-minute chart that there's plenty of support below that. Where if I'm looking at a 1 minute chart, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crashing. But then I go to the 15-minute, I'm like, oh, it's not really crashing. It's just a little move, So yeah, definitely a 15-minute chart. I mean, you can't go wrong with the daily chart just to kind of see, support, resistance, recent closes and gaps in the chart. I love trading gaps. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like if there's a gap in the chart, it's going to get filled at some point. So definitely always keeping an eye on this, on the big picture.
Now, what about a trader's mindset and getting yourself in the right mindset to be a profitable trader? I mean, have you got any tips or hacks or tricks that you can share?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest tip, you buy low, you sell high, baby. That's the best way to make money in the market. But I think a lot of people always ask me, the first thing they ask is like, I want to make money. Like I want to make a lot of money. Or I have $500 and I want to turn it into 10,000. And I'm like, okay, cool. What do you know about trading? And they're like, well, I'm just starting. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to go and do a thing that people spend their whole lives trying to learn, and you think that you're just going to make money doing it. Like you've never learned anything. You have no idea what you're doing. So like the first year, I think as a trader should just be focused on not losing money. Like if you can make it your first year not losing money, like you just beat 90% of the people in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and all you did was not lose money. I mean, you literally just went a whole entire year of not losing any money. Like that is a feat in itself. Like I think you'd get an award for being a first year trader who doesn't lose money in his first year, because 90% of people lose money. So that's the biggest thing is figuring out that at the end of the day, like your capital is, you know, people say like they're little army men, right? You're sending your capital out to battle. And like you want those little army men to come home, because if they don't come home, well, you're going to have less capital. So, you know, it's a battle of protecting capital and understanding that like cutting off a trade and getting out of a bad trade is not a bad thing. Like no trade, like I don't care who you are. There is no trader in the world that has 100% correct. Like no one does it. You're never 100%. But, you know, cutting off your losers, like that is the key. Like being able to cut off your loser to the point that you can still trade, you know, staying alive, like day trading, you know, Forex, all this stuff. It's all a marathon, you know, understanding that there's going to be days where the market's just going to be insane. You know, like it's going to be like one of those days where you're like, this is too easy. You know, I just buy and it just keeps going higher and higher. This is amazing. But the thing is, like, if you don't stay alive, you know, for that day to come and you get chopped up in the first week of trading, you lose all your money, like you're going to look at it like, oh my gosh, like now the market goes higher, you know? So it's like, it's just a marathon, like staying alive and learning. Like I said, like I've been doing this since 2016 and I've been through so many different ideas and theories, and people have told me so many different things about what I should do. And you have to figure out what works for you. You know, like you said, you trade the 2-hour open, the London Open. That's what you do, you know? It just works.
Did you ever sort of get to a point where there was like an aha moment where you're like, I've got it now? And how many times did that actually happen before you actually got it?
I mean, I don't even like to say that I have it now, because I don't think anyone, like at the end of the day, like everyone, the market's just going to screw anyone that they want. You know, the market's always teaching. Like I've met guys that have been trading for 40 years and they're super humble. You know, they've made millions of dollars and they're like, hey, you know, as easily as I can make it, I can easily lose it. You know, like the market doesn't care how long you've been trading. It doesn't care about your experience. It doesn't care about what indicators you're using. If it's going to go up, it's going to go down, and it's just going to happen. So that's for me, like I think all the stuff that I've learned in the past, like all the mistakes that I made, like that's made me a better trader. But obviously, like I had to go through all those mistakes to get to where I'm at now. And I think I'm probably at the best place I've ever been, like mentally, physically, emotionally, like as a person. And then that's obviously like kind of filtered, you know, kind of spilt over into my trading. Because now it's like I feel good, like mentally and physically and emotionally, that when I trade, I don't feel like I have to do anything. Like I don't feel like I have to hit a certain profit target. I don't feel like I have to be like, I have to do this, because that's, you know, like if I wake up every day and I used to have a target, I'd be like, I need to make $1,000 every day. And yeah, I did it. Like there was days where I did it, but then there was also days where I lost $2,000 or I lost $3,000, you know, because I was just trading like I had to do this. But it's like, what really comes down to is like, you need to capitalize off market environments. Like I said, like there's going to be days where the market is just going to be like, it's going to be super easy. And you're just going to be like, wow, this is so fun and easy. Like those are the days where you just got to capitalize. And when the market's shitty, you just walk away. You you just put your hands in the air like you just don't care. You know, that's the way I look at it. And that's again, it's just like the emotion, right? Like the emotion of like, you don't have to trade every day. And that's what I would say 90% of people that start out day trading, that's why they lose. Yeah. Because, and I think you got to also think too, like people start trading because I think most people start trading because they want to get rich. You know, like they're not like, oh, I want to make this a job. You know, like it's like if you went to go work at Amazon the first day, you're like, hey, I want to be CEO. And they're like, why? Like, well, I think I should be CEO. And it's like, well, you know, like you've got to put in time and effort. You got to like learn. You got to be a part of it. And it's fun. I think trading is not for everyone either. Like, I don't think there's certain people out there that just should not trade. You know, like I've talked to like people, I have my friends that are brokers and stuff. And they're like, man, I got this guy trading right now. He should not be trading. Like he goes on tilt every day, you know, like if you go, I mean, I've gone on tilt. There's a video on YouTube of me screaming and yelling, but I mean, I'm also like, I'm on YouTube. So I kind of, you know, make it a little bit more fun and dramatic when I do stuff to get the views. But at the end of the day, like if you can't handle losing money, like you probably shouldn't trade. You know, like if you can't walk away from a $500 red day and just go and exist and like live and not worry about it, like you probably shouldn't trade. You know, I mean, there was a kid that recently, I mean, I think it was a year ago that ended up committing suicide, you know, because he bought an options contract on Robinhood. And not funny, but the fucked up part is he bought an options contract and there was like an error and it showed that he was like negative, like $200,000. And he actually wasn't, but it was just like an error.
Yeah.
And he ended up committing suicide because he was like, he thought he lost $200,000.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so like, you know, there's serious consequences that comes with trading, and you know, money. I mean, this is people's money. You know, people are putting their life savings into trading, and I mean, I've heard so many bad stories of people that are like, hey, you know, I started trading with $100,000 and now I have $5,000 left, and I'm like,
yeah,
you know, they the old saying, the quickest way to become a millionaire trading is to start out with 2 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's a good one. You know?
Yeah. Hey, look, this is awesome. Now we're going to sort of wrap up here on giving the guys one piece of advice from all your years of knowledge. If there was one bit of advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice, I think at the end of the day, you just got to go into every single trading day. Like whatever happened yesterday, you got to forget about it. It's a new day. If you lost money yesterday, it doesn't matter how much money you lost. If you lost 500 yesterday, you can't start out the day thinking that you need to make 500 to get back the money you lost yesterday, because, you know, it's all like we're looking at the big picture. You know, you might have a $500 red day, but if you have another, you know, 4 or 5 $300 green days, well, then you just get back to it. But you can't go into I think a lot of people go into trading day like they just think about like what they lost yesterday. You know, they're like, oh, I lost money yesterday. Now I need to make it back. But like it's just never going to work in your favor. You're going to be emotional. You're going to try to do trades that you shouldn't. And yeah, I mean, every day it's a new day. It's a new trading day. If I make $1,000 on Monday, I don't wake up on Tuesday going, well, it's time to make it more than $1,000. You know, I'm just like, hey, it's a new day. It's every day. It's new odds. It's a new emotion. It's everything. You know, you just start out totally new.
And have you got a simple trick to help people get to the fact that, or to sort of completely forget about the day before?
I would definitely remove maybe your account balance from like view. You know, like if you have your account, like you don't, like when I'm trading, like I don't have my account balance like right there in front of me. You know, I also, like a lot of people, they'll remove their P&L. Like, so you don't see your P&L right in front of you. If you go into a trade and you're like, hey, I'm looking for this many moves, you know, this many pips or whatever, Forex, you know, that's my trade. I'm going into it, but I'm not going to look at my P&L the whole time and be like, oh, well, I'm up 200. Maybe I should take profit now. Like, you should focus on the trade. Don't trade your P&L. And that's the biggest problem. Like, stay away from, you know, trying to trade your P&L and focus on making the trades.
Brilliant. Well, look, Patrick, this has been awesome. Before we wrap up, what's the best way for the guys to get hold of you?
Best way is just on YouTube, Patrick Wieland. You can find me. You can also, I think it's on Instagram, Patrick Wieland as well. There's a lot of scammers out there as well. If anyone ever messages you saying they're Patrick Wieland, they are not Patrick Wieland.
Yeah. You're not messaging anyone.
No, I'm not messaging anyone offering them a Forex program or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, look, a big thank you to Patrick for sharing with us today. Everything we discussed here, along with all those links, are going to be in the show notes. To find them, simply search for Patrick in the search box on tradingnut.com. Until next time, wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. Righty-ho, folks. There you have an interview done and dusted with Patrick. I told you it was a good one, right? It was really, really good. Now, do remember, we shot that video afterwards where he breaks down the gap trading on the stock indexes, so you want to go and check that out on the YouTube channel. Guest applications are open. They're more visible on the Trading Nut site. Just fill in the form, complete it, and make sure you do fill in all of the details requested. Otherwise, it will be ignored. The other things, Trading Nut Funded Cup, get your registration in for June. We've got the live trading happening this week, so hopefully you're catching some of that. These guys breaking it down in real time. And Genius Trader Club, now's the time to jump on board it because the price is going to jump. And go and check out that zigzag fib robot that I created this month. It's only available for May 2022. If you do want to get access to it, you're going to need to join the Robot Builders Club. And we're going to see if that can pass the City Traders Imperium Funded Challenge. I'll be giving updates on that probably across the channels, Instagram and Telegram and that kind of thing. So if you want to follow that, you know where to go over there on tradingnut.com. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.